What's up, everybody? Jason here. I guess I'm doing an intro to the podcast. This is kind of a last second thing. I was about to upload the first episode, and then I was like, you know what? I want to give people kind of a little bit more personal breakdown of what we're doing here. Um, and also thank everybody for being anyone who clicked on it for being mildly interested in watching a video of my dad and me rambling. Um, Hopefully it doesn't come across as that, but that's what we think that it probably is. The goal of the podcast is to one be able to have the kind of conversations that my dad and I have, on a almost nightly basis, uh, and be able to share it with other people. Because when we're in our places of business, we tend to be pretty reserved, keep our thoughts to ourselves, really just focus on creating a hospitable environment for people to want to enjoy. Um, but this will kind of be us on a more real, raw level. The kind of conversations that, like I said, we would just have over a glass of bourbon on the deck. Um, this is kind of what this is going to be. And the focal point of almost all of those conversations is one, our experiences with the food system, what we've been through, what we've done, how we've reflected on it. And then I would say a larger part of the conversation is things that we read, things that we watch. There are a ton of people out there who are absolute geniuses and devote their entire lives to being on the ground researching how food is grown, how it's shipped, how it's processed, how it gets to your plate, and then what it does to your body after you eat it. Uh, and we realize that most people don't have the time to research that because you guys have your own interests that you devote countless hours to learning about. Um, but we think this one's important and it's fun to be involved in and to talk about. So this is going to kind of just be hopefully a concise, easy to understand way to catalog a lot of the things that we've learned from our own experiences and learned from other people's that we've read and watched about how food works from a community level, which there's a ton to talk about in our little community, Union City, all the way up to a world scale, oil crisis and how that affects your food. So yeah, in the coming episodes, we'll be breaking that kind of stuff down. Hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully we don't ramble too much. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get better at it as time goes on. There's a couple things that we're going to iron out this first episode. Camera quality's not that great. Bear with us on that. We recorded another one after this and, got that one ironed out. Lighting, we're working on it. Microphones, I'll get the levels right eventually. It's fine. But yeah, I'm going to shoot for an episode a week. That's on me whether or not I get that done. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who decided they wanted to watch this. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Okay, here we are. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Don't Forget Your Roots podcast. I am the old man, Darby Livingston.
I'm the slightly less old man, Jason Livingston. I feel old, trust me. It happens.
Yeah, every year feels like 5 after you get over 30.
Man, that's scary.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you got to look forward to. That's what I'm trying to prepare you for.
I guess this is what it's like to feel like every year feels like 3 right now, I guess. That makes sense.
Well, we've been wanting to do this for quite a long time, years actually, and we just decided that it's time to make it happen. A couple events in our business and in our personal lives has made us recheck our priorities and our values, and this was one of the very first things that we jumped on.
Yeah, right at the beginning. I mean, we knew we had to do this quick because this right when we started as just a business, just from the conception of it, something like this was in in our heads, and we just never got around to it. But now it's finally time. Feels good. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. This was part of our original values, was to share and educate and uh, entertain people through education. Um, we have a lot of thoughts, a
Yeah,
lot
we
of
think a lot. We do think a
yes,
lot.
exactly. One of our family values is definitely thinking, and so
Hmm.
and thinking about thinking, and
Yes, overthinking.
yes, and
As
so
bad as that sounds, it happens a lot. Yeah.
yeah. So what we wanted to do was form a podcast around um, the roots of food and the roots of community around food, which basically covers all of life. So the things that you'll hear us discussing in future episodes is the food system, sustainable agriculture. You can jump in anytime you feel like I'm going off course, or
No,
if
I was
I'm
actually
missing.
I was actually going to
Um,
say that it might actually seem kind of tangential, yeah, at certain points, because there's a lot of current events that happen that you would think wouldn't even pertain to food, but food is everything. It's your whole life. It's been everyone's whole life from the time humans have been on Earth. It's Your life is based around what you're going to eat next,
yeah,
whether you know it or not. So everything that happens in the world almost always just comes down to food. It affects what you eat and how you eat. So
yeah, yeah, and drink.
yeah, and
Um,
drink. Yeah,
one of the things that is near and dear to our heart are adult beverages for the adults in our
absolutely.
family. Um, this one today, we are enjoying Copper and Kings, um, Kentucky straight bourbon, finished in American apple brandy barrels. And so,
We are not sponsored, by the way.
no, we are not
We
sponsored
just
by that.
really like
Just
it.
tonight, we are enjoying that.
We really like it. This is a really good one.
So anything we like, we have a hard time not sharing with others, and trying to get them to like it as well. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah,
And I
this
think
was
a goal of this, another goal, um, aside from educating and being entertaining, is that personally for me anyway, when from the time that we've started the business and all the way up to now, and we will continue to do this, is we are pretty reserved in the business world, and when talking to customers, we're pretty reserved people, and we're naturally understanding anyway of everyone and everyone's viewpoints on things. But when we get together and have a conversation over bourbon, um it's our raw unfiltered selves, and that's kind of another point of this, for me anyway, is to have a way to kind of communicate with people how we actually think about certain things. It almost kind of cathartic, and also I think people enjoy hearing that. I know I do. I like hearing people's opinions on things, whether I always agree with it or not, especially if you can tie it back to something that um,
value.
we all value. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that, I think that's another fun thing that this could be for me personally.
Yeah, and we try so hard in our businesses, and we will get into a little bit about what we do for those that aren't right from here and know exactly who we are. But from a hospitality side and a business side, we are, I think reserved is a good word for it, but we're very curated. We're very
Yes.
intentional and deliberate
Good words for it.
about what we do, and how we present ourselves. This is an opportunity for Jason and I think to definitely be more just real, and authentic's kind of a worn out word these days, and it's the last thing that most things that claim to be authentic are. So,
Right.
but real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, really what it amounts to is I just don't really have a lot of avenues to express my stinging sarcasm.
Right. Which is
that,
so ever prevalent.
that this is an opportunity, I think, to kind of cut loose a little bit and show people probably a side that some people know, our closest friends know, but probably a lot of people don't. Um, so a little bit about what we're doing and who we are. We are in the hospitality business, but we're also in the agricultural business. That's what we started with. We started with a grain farm. We started with um, industrial hog farm. We partnered with Tyson to grow CAFO industrial scale hogs, and we just got tired of that. It, eventually we became very what's the word I'm looking for? Not disgruntled, but disillusioned
Yeah,
by the whole
maybe a
system.
little bit of both.
Yeah, yeah. And what was a partnership very quickly we realized became more of a serfdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
and we will eventually, I think, over time get into some of those things.
Mhm.
I feel
I don't think there's
like
any
they're
way we
very
can avoid it.
relevant. We're talking about the roots of food and where we are now compared to that. And so I think that it probably will take a prominent role eventually in some
Oh,
of our
yeah.
discussions.
I would think so.
It was enough that we gave that up. We gave up all of the money and the security of that it provided, in search of more direct to consumer, more environmentally friendly, I would call it.
Oh, I
I
think
mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question in my mind that it is.
yeah. And so we transitioned out of those operations into um, growing heritage breed animals, primarily pigs, and um, organically raised, not certified organic, but organically raised produce. And that's where we got our start in agriculture outside of just the conventional grain and hog operation. And we will eventually explore some of that, what we did with that, with our mobile markets. We have mobile produce markets and that we would take around to underserved neighborhoods. So
I
I mean,
almost forget about those sometimes. That was such a brief little period of us just like trying to put our feet into anything else like that we weren't doing before. That was a weird one. That was fun. It was
yeah,
exciting.
yeah,
It was kind of the first taste of something different and having a name out in front of people. And
yeah,
yeah, it was scary and it was exciting. Like it was the first time that we put something out that wasn't, well, really, that our faces were on. That was the first time we'd done anything like that
yes, that is exactly,
because it was just farming before that.
yes. I am just setting a little
Oh,
timer here because otherwise we might ramble on
yeah,
forever. So
really, you never know. Yeah, it
I am
happens.
long-winded.
It happens.
But yeah, so we did that, and we started to sell things through an online store. We had our treehillfarms.com was our original venture into direct to consumer sales and distribution. We do pickup locations of our raw meats. So we went through all of the process of getting inspected by the state and certified to um, store in the freezers on the farm, all of the different cuts of meat, and they have to be processed through a USDA inspected facility. And so we jumped through every hoop.
Yeah, there's so many fun things that we get to go into from this, just from our little short experience with it. Just all of the red tape and all of the
Yeah,
it's insane.
yeah,
We could talk for hours about each one of these little things of
yeah.
just yeah. Yeah,
Not
it was
today,
nuts.
but
No,
we
not
might. But
yeah.
yeah, so we did these. We would take our livestock in, our heritage breed animals, and we would have them broken down into cuts and frozen. And so you could buy a 1 pound or 10 pounds of pork chops or 5 pounds of ground beef or what, anything you would buy at a meat department of the store, you could get from us, and we would deliver those things to delivery locations within a radius. And my original radius was 100 miles.
Yeah.
And that is when I was doing the research for this, that's when I realized that there are 10 million people within 120 miles of us. So
Yeah.
by the time you get to the far sides of Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Fort Wayne, you're almost up to Toledo by then. I mean, you've got 10 million people in this area. So we are in a really populated area right
And
in the
100
middle of it.
miles, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the USDA's definition of local, correct?
Mhm.
100 miles. Yeah.
Or within state.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But generally accepted is within 100 miles. And you think about it, if I pick a tomato at 7 o'clock in the morning, I can have it to you by
Right.
9:30.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty
No,
local,
it makes sense compared to
under
what-
our condition. Now,
Mhm.
granted, you're not just eating a tomato at that point, though. Even within that 100 miles, you're not eating a tomato, you're eating oil.
Yeah. I
Because
know. I know.
because I'm going to pick that tomato at 7 in the morning, and I'm going to load it into a basket, and I'm going to stick it on a truck and drive it for 2 hours to sell it to someone 2 hours away, when probably there's somebody that would love to have a tomato that lived within walking distance of
Right.
me. So
Yeah.
we're
And yeah.
so
that's
even
a-
though it's local, we're still eating oil. We're just only eating 2 hours worth instead of from here to California.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's one of the most interesting things about the food system, by far, is how heavily it relies on oil.
Yes, there's no doubt. That's why everybody says that oil is the engine that runs the economy and makes the world go round, and all the wars are fought over oil and all of that. But really, when I was thinking about this earlier when you had mentioned it, that food is what makes the world go round. The oil is generally to get the food around the world.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
granted, we got to have our Nikes and our flat screen TVs, but most of the time, we want to have bananas in January, and
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
gonna transport food around the world with the oil.
Right.
And
I mean,
so-
there's a reason why the largest, most wealthy companies in the world are the food companies.
Yeah,
It is
they're
the most
massive.
important thing that
Sure,
we have, and all that what all the money goes into, really.
sure, yeah. And so we are a stream of consciousness.
Yeah,
Endeavor
that
here
is
for
going
sure.
to be
That is,
the theme of this.
Yeah.
It'll be a conversation.
yeah. This is unscripted and as unedited as humanly possible.
Which is good, because I don't know how to edit anything. So
No, yeah. I mean,
we're really jumping into this blind, which is also, that's a theme for us. We've been doing that.
We
for
do a
while.
lot of that. A lot of people that know us would say, "Yep, that's par for the course for a roots endeavor."
Yep.
But so we did the produce and the mobile markets, and we got started over in Muncie with serving underserved areas, and I met with all the different councils of all the different little neighborhoods over there in Muncie, and talked to all the nonprofits, and we were cooperating with all of them, Ball State and Purdue Extension, and just all sorts of arrangements that we had made to bring fresh produce into the underserved areas that the USDA would describe as food deserts. And so we wanted to do our part in that. And so part of our just distribution was to help those that were in need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and isn't that crazy that there's food deserts in Muncie?
Yeah, and people don't think about it.
People don't even think about it. No.
And but here's what's interesting is we're sitting here in Union City, Indiana, for those that are far away and don't know who we are yet. We're not household names yet, but
Yep.
I'm a household name in my house.
Fingers crossed. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
That makes one of us.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people holler for dad. Very rarely do they holler for Jason, but whatever. But
Jason's not coming anyway. It's
no,
fine.
that's probably why they gave up hope. But where was I?
Talking about food deserts in Muncie.
So here's the thing. It's easy to, it's ironic or just peculiar to think that there's food deserts in Muncie. However, based on things that I see on social media, people almost would get the idea of it just from living in Union City.
Yeah.
Like not having easy,
Yes.
readily accessible access to readily accessible access. So it's not
That's
just
fine.
access.
It's
It's not just accessible access. It's readily accessible
readily
access.
accessible
Like
access.
you have to have readily accessible access
Yep.
to food. And so, the idea that all we have in town is a Save a Lot, and that's the only place you can get groceries except
Mhm.
for, the dollar stores or whatever. You know, it it now imagine being in Muncie where it's a much bigger area and the stores are spread out. And if you look at per capita, there's probably less stores
Oh, per capita,
per
yeah.
capita than we
Oh,
have in
yeah.
Union City.
Mhm.
And now you think, okay, these people, a lot of them don't have cars. So
Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, that was the big thing. The
yeah,
cars, yeah.
so yeah, and so they're going to take a bus, or they're going to have friends take them,
Mhm.
carpool or something. But they'll take a bus, and you can only carry so many bags on a bus.
That was one of the big issues that we were hearing a lot.
Yeah.
Was that yeah, you could take a bus, but the buses would only let you take so much on them, obviously. So,
Yeah.
if you have a family and you're living in one of those areas, good luck shopping
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
food. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
for not even just real food, which is a term that we'll probably use a lot. Real food is
Yes.
what we
Absolutely.
do. But just food in general, like Oreos and chips. Like you can
Yeah.
only fit so many Oreos and chips on a bus.
Yeah, and when you're carrying those bags, the Oreos, they rip through the Walmart bag. And so imagine being on a bus,
Yeah.
and you think you're safe and you get off the bus, and as soon as you get off the bus, the dang Oreos rip through the
Rip through the.
Walmart
Oh,
bag.
that's
And
tragic.
now you've got crumbled up Oreos that you've got to try to get home.
Yeah, that's tragic.
No, it was, yeah, people lived in that environment. And
Mhm.
in our culture, it's hard to say, I mean, there's some and I've read all sides and researched them pretty heavily. And there's some that say, well, that's just food desert. The very concept and idea of it is just it's non-existent. It's a fake paradigm.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it could come across as like first world problems. You don't
Yes,
actually have a
exactly.
food desert, but
Yes, exactly. But in a society as wealthy as ours, and in a culture as inclusive and accepting and loving as ours,
mhm.
I think that's why they would call it a desert.
Yes,
There, yes, people aren't walking across like the Sahara Desert of Muncie, Indiana, looking for an oasis of Oreos and Doritos,
right.
but they are, in a relatively speaking, in a society as wealthy and as accepting and loving as ours. We don't want to see any of them. To us, that is suffering.
Yes,
Suffering is a
it's a
it's a
relative
relative
concept. It
concept,
is.
exactly. And so we didn't want to see that either, and so we started bringing produce over, and you could get the
Mhm.
Oreos and the Doritos at the corner gas stations.
Right.
So we wanted to bring produce and eventually meats into those areas. And we did that for quite a while. And we would just pull up, and we have these 28-foot trailers, and one of them is sitting over here on Howard Street. We got
Mhm.
another one out on our farm that we would just pull into a neighborhood, drop the ramp, you would walk in, and we had a checkout station in the front, and the whole thing was cordless, wireless, which was pretty new at the time that we were
Yeah.
doing that to be completely wireless. Like, we did not have to
Yes.
plug in at all, and we could even run Snap and EBT and
Right. We
debit
did.
cards, everything. Like,
Yeah.
WIC vouchers. We did all those things on a little mobile trailer, and just to see the looks on these
It was so cool.
their face, just the older people, and just they just would thank you for being here. And it just, and just love the food, love so many people would come back every day for tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
we used
Every
to set
day.
up at Muncie Mall parking lot on the weekends. They would come on Friday, get tomatoes, come back the next day, get tomatoes, come
Mhm.
back Sunday, get tomatoes. Like, it was just a really neat time for us
Yeah.
to
Oh, I
not
agree.
make any money whatsoever, but have a blast doing it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it kind of was the cost to sink our feet into something different, like I said earlier.
Hmm. Hmm.
Apart from just the farming, because I mean, we were growing that stuff too, so the farming was absolutely involved at
Yes.
that point.
Yeah.
Um,
And we just weren't at the point where we wanted to set up on a roadside or go to a farmer's market or whatever.
yeah,
We
yeah,
And so, basically we were setting up there at the Muncie Mall, and one of the ladies from the Whiteley neighborhood, she came over, um, Dollison, and she came over, and she said, this, what you're doing here is so wonderful and all that. She's like, have you ever thought about coming into the neighborhoods, into the actual neighborhoods? And next thing you know,
yep. That's where we
there we
were.
are. I'm
That's
like,
where we
well,
were.
how can I tell this sweet old lady no? I'm like, she she so reminded me of one of my grandparents or something, and
Oh,
just so I just was like, oh yeah, we can do that. And so next thing you know, we're parking outside of a church in the Whiteley neighborhood,
hmm,
and then we're just various community centers we park at. And we did that for quite a while, and um, just realized though that we were sustaining that with money from the past farming. And so
right.
we never made any money doing that, which is a common theme for us, it seems to be. but
Yeah.
but um but we really did learn a lot.
Hmm.
um and it was an opportunity for us to love our neighbor as ourselves, which is a definitely a core value in our family and in
Yeah.
our house. And
Yeah.
um it was just such a privilege to be able to do that. Different things worked out to where it just wasn't feasible to do it anymore. And eventually, this is why one of the reasons I think the food desert concept is a little, the concept itself is underexplored and maybe ill defined at this point still, is because eventually, even in a food desert, the novelty of having the food brought right to within a block of your house wore off, and the size of the crowd would eventually go down. And so,
Right.
what do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yes.
so before there would be lines, and then a couple months later the line would be halved, and
Right.
and so if you're in a desert and you need water, pretty sure if you see that oasis, over the horizon, and you're cresting the hill and you see it down there, you're running to it.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it turns out to be fake or not, you're running to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yes. Yes.
You're never not doing that. And so
That's interesting.
we were, in my mind, I started to question whether we were solving a problem that wasn't actually there.
Right. Right. Because yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I think a lot of it for me, I mean, looking back on it, at that point I wasn't really
You were
I
mainly on
had
the
in
farm. You
yeah,
were
I
on the
was mainly
farm.
on the farm and I had input, but I wasn't really part of making those decisions on what like the
Yeah,
directions that we were going at the time. I mean, this
sure.
was what, how many years ago was that?
Oh, what, like maybe 2016 or something,
16,
something
yeah,
like that.
2016.
15,
Yeah.
16. Yeah.
So, yeah, I wasn't really part of the decision making on that. But looking back on it for me, oh, lost my train of thought on that one. That's
You
hilarious.
weren't a lot of the decision making, but looking back, you.
Oh no, I knew what I was that didn't help at all actually. Um just say something.
I
I
said that
don't know.
we were solving a
It might,
problem
yeah.
that really might not have even existed.
Nope, nothing. It'll come
Nothing.
back to me
All right.
eventually.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
move on.
cool.
It
That's
will
cool.
come back to me. It was there for a minute.
When I
It's
lose my
gone.
thought, I just take another sip of bourbon.
Yeah, let's do that. Hmm.
Still nothing.
Nothing. No, 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 no.
So yeah, but when we did that, we were at the same time that we were doing those mobile markets. We were building up the infrastructure of these drop off stations, these delivery stations for Tree Hill Farms products. And so we delivered to Natural Path in Greenville.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forget all this stuff.
we
I
had
keep
pickup
forgetting all this
locations.
stuff.
You used
Yeah.
to take the stuff to the
Oh, I
pickup
know. I
locations.
remember it now.
So basically what would happen is just like on Amazon, except with 3 people. So it's like Amazon, except not.
Right. Not at all.
the store was set up like Amazon, so where you could go on there and you just picked it up and it was put in the cart and all that. Well, what would happen is we would get, pick tickets, or so then we would have to go out to the farm and um, get in our freezers that were USDA inspected and on the farm.
All the fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and we would pack orders. So somebody ordered 5 pounds of porterhouse chops and 5 pounds of ribeye chops and 3 pounds of ground beef and 10 pounds of adult burger. And
yeah, that was fun stuff. Actually,
and
I
so-
didn't mind that.
yeah, except it was cold. We had,
Yeah, it was
you lived
cold,
in a
yeah.
freezer, but it was pretty cool. Literally.
Yeah.
But then, so we would pick those up, and then we would have drop-off locations, pickup locations. So we would partner with other like-minded businesses and individuals, things like that. So we this was within the radius. We started pretty close and went out. So we did pickup locations and even home deliveries within a certain
there
radius. Fort
were quite a
Recovery,
few home deliveries
Union
that I
City,
remember
we would
doing.
do.
Yeah.
So yeah, Greenville, we were partnered with the Natural Path. It's like a wellness
A little
center
wellness
spa thing.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
cool. It was a cool place actually.
Brookville, we partnered with a gym down
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and she was just such a great lady that we partnered with down there that owned the gym down there in Brookville.
Yep.
Where else? Parker City, we did some
We
stuff
went to
there.
Parker. Yeah, Parker was one of the.
That was a mobile market stop for a while.
Yeah.
And then we did pickup locations at the city building at Parker.
Yes, we did.
I would park there and wait,
Yep.
and all the people that picked up, which there were people that would order from us religiously every week.
Oh yeah,
And
every
so,
week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I don't remember farther east. Fort Recovery, we would do things through Calp Pharmacy.
Yes, Cal. Yeah.
So yeah, we did these pickup locations and deliveries, and I even talked to the Continental Carbonics at the ethanol plant in Greenville about getting dry ice and using that to ship. And we talked about
doing that.
and priced it and everything, and just thought, that's doing away with the local regional
Yes.
concept. And so that was just kind of a literal bridge too far for us to mentally get our heads around. So
At that time, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be opposed to doing something like that at all.
No. In fact, some of the people that held out for the longest that I thought would die on the local hill started shipping their stuff, like Joel Salatin.
So Joel Salatin. So that actually did drum up what I was going to say earlier.
Good.
Yeah, it's great. We're very idealistic when it comes to food. But we also realize that we live in a real world.
Yes.
And you can't subvert reality for very long.
Yes.
It's romantic to think that, like you said, there's 10 million people in our local area. It's romantic to think that you could potentially make a profitable business, which you have to do. Of course, we love our communities, but you can only love your communities if you
until you
go broke, and then you're not helping anybody. So there has to be a balance there for that, and it doesn't make sense to continue to grind against reality that you could make money enough only selling meat and trying to pick out the few people in your area who actually want that.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, not everyone.
No, not everyone cares about that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, you're exactly right. I mean, eventually reality bumps up against your idealism, and you have to compromise. You have to. A lot of this podcast, I think, will be us. It'll be a journal of us compromising between our ideals and reality thrashing the daylights out of us until we're forced to compromise.
Yes.
And, in my mind, my new, I've always had some different mantras, but, one of them is it took a long time to get where we are, and it's not going to change in any reasonable fashion quickly. It's just not.
No.
We're not going to solve all these problems, and we are not arrogant enough to think that we're going to solve any of the problems. But even to talk about these problems and just agree with others that are talking about them, yes, we think this is a problem. The idea that we're going to just fix the world's food system overnight is or even in a decade, or even in maybe even a century. I mean, it's
Yeah.
taken millennia to get where we are, literally.
Absolutely.
So I don't know that we're going to immediately fix it. Now, having said that, though, I think that everything that currently is because someone changed what was. Ooh.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. No, that's
So,
absolutely true.
so it is worth bringing it up. It is worth
Right.
pushing back against the systems that are,
Right.
because everything that is probably seemed foolish at one time,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And I
and
think that
so
I think an example of that, and this is something that I think I harp on a lot for not actually, even considering doing it myself, even though we have land and a place to do it. Like the idea, trust me, I understand why we can't have chickens in town. I get it. It makes sense. But also that is the easiest form of food that you could probably have as just a person. Like, you know what I mean? It's the little tiny things like that where no, you can't change the world, but start a garden. You know
raise
what
a
I mean?
chicken. Yeah,
Start a garden, raise a chicken.
yeah,
Everyone, these are little small
definitely.
things that are super easy. Really, growing food is not hard at all. I mean,
No, and it's surprising how much you can grow.
oh gosh,
I just
yeah.
can't wait to over time get into this idea that somehow corn and soybeans are raised because of the nutrient efficiency of them. They are the
No,
most ludicrous, stupid, nutrient sucking crops that we could ever come up with.
right.
Like it's almost like you couldn't dream up. Well, yeah, you could. If you were trying to treat the world like livestock and make lots of money off of it,
Right.
you absolutely would dream up corn and soybeans
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and that's
convince people that you need to farm fence row to fence row those two crops at the expense of every other crop in the world. But it
yeah.
is incredible to me that we were raising produce on a pretty big scale. I mean, we're talking probably 30 acres or something of produce there for a while.
Which was, I mean, yeah.
Which was, but we could have grown as what. Here's what gets me in terms of the mass of produce that we were growing on that land. I know people that are growing that much on one
That's what
acre
I was going to say.
intensively.
That's what I was going to say. We were
Like,
doing it very deliberately, not intensively. Just throw it out
yes,
there and let it do what it's going to do. But yeah, if you actually had just a garden, you could produce a lot of food for yourself. A lot of food.
using the modern principles and technology. And by technology, I mean patterns of thinking
Yes.
and systems,
Right.
not chemicals and modern that way.
Mhm.
I mean modern technology, like, wow, we've thought enough and experimented enough that we realize that you don't have to have 6 inches between a plant for it to produce a lot. Like,
Mhm.
there are techniques that you can use to make them perform very well in a very small space. That's a
Yeah.
modern way of thinking. That's not the way
Absolutely.
Grandma used to grow her garden.
Mhm.
She'd hill up a hill every foot, put the seeds in there, and give them space. You always had to have space. Well, now we've realized you don't.
Yeah,
There,
look at nature.
yes,
Nature
exactly.
doesn't have space.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and nature abhors open soil. It hates
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It. What do you think weeds are? Weeds are nature's remedy to our stupidity.
Right.
Literally.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, there. There are so many things that people just don't think, aren't forced to think about. They're not made to care about these things, and
No, I mean,
but
it's
they
a
are
modern.
intriguing. I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. That's the biggest draw to it for me is not that I think I'm going to change the world. It's just fun to think about.
Mhm.
The science of it and how it relates so easily
Yeah,
and it's so applicable to our actual lives is very interesting to me.
yeah. No, I agree.
How minute the science it gets down to molecules, and that process is so important to eating a tomato.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The chickens, I mean, in this room here, we will eventually, I think, just show a video of it at some point in our
Right.
lives. But we have a blown up image of chickens out on our farm.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we have a blown up image of us wrapping bales of wet forage. And I love those two pictures because to me, they are the modern equivalent of, the age old natural order of things. And that would be that you have, four-legged ruminants that are eating grass and converting that into milk and protein.
Mm-hmm.
And you have birds that are following behind them and pecking through the waste of those ruminants and converting even the waste farther still into usable products, whether it
Right.
be protein or eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And then causing that they're trampling under those birds' feet. I mean, they're trampling that waste back into the soil and refeeding the soil that is regrowing and regenerating the grass. And so that is the actual cycle of life right there between four-legged animals and two-legged animals
Right.
and soil.
Yep.
That's, I mean, and it's been shown over and over in the world in desertified areas that it can actually be reclaimed for agricultural purposes
Yes.
not through tillage, not through chemicals, not through tractors, through a simple cow and some chickens.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane. Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
It is a very modern concept to let nature be nature again.
Yeah, wow. Huh. Nature was here before we were. And so, you know, I wonder if I'm not one of those crazy people that thinks that if we just were gone, then all the problems of the world would be solved
Well,
because
right.
nobody would know that there were any
That
problems,
there were any
right?
problems. Yes.
But
Yes.
but it is insane though how nature does just continue to retake what man shoves in on, right? I mean, if
Yes. Pretty quickly.
don't repave a road
Pretty
and before
quickly.
long plants are growing up through that road and before you know it, it looks like something off The Walking Dead. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing. So anyways, back to us and our ventures through farming into direct to consumer. So we did these locations and the pickup and drop off locations and partnered with them. And then a lot of our customers, they loved it. They loved the service. They loved the level of attention. They loved the
Mm-hmm.
quality of the
They love the
product.
product. That
Everything
was the
that
big
we
thing. The
do
product. Yeah.
is for the flavor.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean,
From the beginning. Yeah.
all the produce that we grow were the flavorful varieties, and the methods that we used to grow them were for the sake of the final eating quality, and the
Right.
animals that we choose are for the flavor that they produce, not according to the efficiency or how much money you can make per pound or any of that. It's
Right.
what makes it fun to eat. And then when
Yes.
we started getting into hospitality and people were coming to us and saying, we love your pork chops and we love your adult burgers, which is a blend of meats that we came up with, they would say, we love these things, but we don't cook. Have you
Right.
ever thought about cooking for us? And
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're
And
like,
then
well,
there's
we have thought about that. And
mm-hmm.
we were thinking about meal kits. We were thinking about all kinds of things. And, so we decided, okay, well, let's build a kitchen on our farm so that we can make ready to eat things and meal kits for people. Right. And so Darke County, Ohio, we had, the people come out to the farm and give us an estimate on what we needed to do to make that happen. And we realized very quickly that that is so expensive just to put a commercial kitchen on a farm that
Yeah.
a place here in Union City came open for sale, and it wasn't cheaper to buy it, but it made more sense to buy a regular restaurant that had been
Mm-hmm.
closed for the commercial kitchen. And so that's
Yeah.
what we did. We bought the restaurant and we started doing catering events and ticketed events out of there. And that's kind of our first foray into the food, the actual ready to eat and the hospitality side
Yeah.
of
The
it.
actual hospital, getting into real stuff.
Yeah,
having to talk to people and present people your food that you grew and prepared for them right in front of them.
Yeah.
That was such a new thing. That was
And all of that was according to flavor and final eating
it was.
experience.
Oh yeah.
Everything we've ever done we want to see the smile on people's faces. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just it, it just, that's what makes me get up in the morning. Um, so yeah, we did that, and then, and then we just expanded, and we'll talk about that over time here, but of just what we did and how we, the decision making that we made, and those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. But we did get into hospitality, and of opened a couple different concepts of restaurants, and still very big in catering. That's still the
Yes.
one that's probably nearest and dearest to our heart, because I think the roots of food and the roots of community around food. And most of the time, when you cater something, that is for a community
Yes.
event, whether it be a
Yeah.
wedding
Yep. That makes sense.
or even a funeral. I mean,
Right.
even corporate that's providing something, a service or an appreciation for their employees or for their customers,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, they're trying to please their neighbor. They're trying to, it's a way of
Yeah.
loving your neighbor. And
Right.
so to me, I love the restaurants and the fact that people come in and, one at a time or just a family at a time or whatever and enjoy it. But to me, the catering, I really like the usually the bigger communal aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. It does. I've always personally disliked doing the catering. I love that we have it, and I agree with him on the reasons why it's awesome. Um, it stresses me out because once you're on site, if you forget something or you mess something up, there's nothing you can do about it.
It's true.
That scares me.
Yes,
That
the
scares me.
problem with catering is, if you're us, is you want everything to be perfect. We
Right.
we are so, our family and our business values are so centered on grace,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we strive for excellence. I think that that's why it probably works, and it's counterintuitive, right? I mean, you would
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, if your standard is excellence, your standard is perfection,
Right.
that's going to put a lot of weight on someone. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, it could, if your chief core value isn't grace.
Right. That has to come first.
Yes, if the grace comes first and people know that that's your core value, and they know that they're going to be accepted no matter what, and they're going to be loved no matter what, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, then you're free to pursue excellence.
Right.
Instead of it being a weight around your neck, it becomes a motivating instrument
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're free to become excellent. I've always said that, you know like that old, somebody your age would never know what it is, but like, there was an old show, The A Team,
I mean, I
with
know what
Mr.
the A
T and
team
whatever.
is.
But yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but the
familiar.
leader of it, he would always be smoking on a
Mm-hmm.
stogie, and he, at the end of every episode, he'd say, "I love it when a plan comes together," because
Well, yeah, you've been saying that forever. So.
well, I love it. I've always said, though, I love it when things come together without a plan, because
Right. Yeah.
because so when people, I think, especially people that have come to work for us and over the years, they come and they see our operation from behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's always shocking that we are able to achieve the level of customer satisfaction and efficiency that we are
Yeah.
able to.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
think
wouldn't think that
shocking
it should
is
you wouldn't think it should be able to happen, because there's
yes.
what appears to be so few standards, and yet
Right.
but
Right.
yet the result, I would argue, would equal the most stringent standard organization.
Yes. Yes, I think so.
How do you
Yeah,
why
and the results are what matter. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, how do you think, why? What is that enables that to happen?
I really don't know. I mean, part of it, I think. Well, I think a lot of it is luck. I think a lot of it with where we were with the Winchester location especially was just we got incredibly lucky with the staff that we got.
Yeah. Hmm.
Incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
I mean everyone was just awesome.
That is true.
Made it very easy to I mean a lot of them had been doing it a lot longer than we have.
Yes, absolutely. And so yeah, the skill level was there from the beginning, and it always
Mhm.
has been. And yeah, I guess I don't know. Yes, luck. I would say yes. We definitely try to hire our incompetence. I mean, the
Oh yeah.
we try to
Yeah.
fill in
N-
gaps of our competence, and
yes.
we try to be very self-aware of our weaknesses and our strengths so that
Mhm.
we can organize around those weaknesses to
Right.
compensate for them.
Right.
And so maybe that is
And I
part
mean,
of
I
it.
do think that we, like you said, tried very hard to provide a work environment where they were free to be themselves and I mean,
Yeah.
mess up and
Yes.
not be scared that they did and, kind of do things their own way. Because that's what we've always done.
Do you remember? Now, we'll pull the onion. We'll pull a layer back. Pay no attention to
Okay.
that man behind the curtain. But there was a moment when we had a catering event, and we had someone drop a burning, and we won't mention names or anything. But we had somebody drop a burning pan of smoked meat on the floor, and it went all over. So we had to obviously scoop that back in the pan and deliver it. No, we didn't. But
Oh,
I was just making sure you were listening. But
ooh.
do you remember that? And no, they dropped it on the floor and spilled it, and they were just devastated. And Amanda told them,
I think I might.
yeah, and Mom told them
Vaguely.
that's okay because Darby always plans for such things. And how do you plan for losing
No.
8 pounds of meat
No,
on the
you
floor?
don't. You don't plan for that.
But it did work out fine. I mean,
Yeah.
but it is just funny that you mentioned luck, but that is hilarious. That but that person didn't get in trouble. We didn't yell at them. We
No.
didn't, none of that. In fact, we felt bad because they felt bad. Like they felt terrible for that, and I
Yeah.
wasn't going to add to that. Like, I mean,
Right.
what?
Right.
And
Why would
so
you?
yeah, and so but everything worked out great. It wasn't no big deal, but yeah, it just was interesting. And the customer was not shorted at all. I mean, they had food left over. So, but it was just funny that Amanda immediately said, "Well, Darby always plans for that." Whether
Yeah,
that's
whether
the
it was
case or
true or
not, she
not,
just
it
felt
was
so bad for that person that there was no way she was going to let that person
Mhm.
carry the weight of that all night. Like,
Right, right.
yeah, that's interesting. But well, we we've been, I don't know how long we are, but I bet we're pushing an hour. But we are looking forward to many, many, many more discussions around this table here. And
Yes.
part of what I think what you'll come to learn is we'll interview people.
Yep.
We,
That's in
we
the
want to
plans, yeah.
interview. In my mind, I would love to interview people that that the community would know. I mean, we will deal with issues and subjects that I think will be popular to anyone, but obviously don't forget your roots. We're not going to forget our roots. And we
Right.
are deliberately addressing these things within the context of our local and regional community. And so, we're not speaking generically about philosophies and
No, that'll be in
this
there.
is not popular mechanics where, you know,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it is going to, this is going to be hyper localized. Some of the things that we talk about.
Yes, that'll definitely be there.
Because we are here first and foremost to serve our customers,
Yeah.
our immediate customers.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So things that we'll do is we want to interview people that people in our area would know,
Mhm.
that the citizens in our area would know, and ask them questions about growing up and what was their favorite food, and
Yeah.
what did
all
it
that
feel
fun
like to go to
stuff.
grandma's house, and those kind of things, the roots of food and the roots of community around food. We'll talk about issues that are happening in our community, because we are a pretty visual part of it,
Yeah.
and also more and more, for good or bad, a more talked about part of it.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
there are definitely topics that I want to discuss that we try to be very gentlemanly, quite,
Yeah, I think
I-
that goes back to being reserved.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah.
said at the beginning.
and gracious.
Yes.
However, the things that are brought up, things that people bring up about our business or our family. I mean, we're not going to get in an argument on social media. I mean, that's never going to happen.
No,
You just won't
no,
see us do
not
it.
not ever. No.
And people try to goad people into that, and we're never going to take that bait. However, in an atmosphere like this, I'm happy to talk about the context of those things. I mean, I'm not going to
Yes.
get into an argument here either with
No.
someone
I
and
think
point for point or
I
tit for
think that
tat.
it's
But
important to do that to a certain extent, because when something like that happens, there are a lot of people who are involved in the topic of, or in the conversations on social media, who
true,
genuinely don't know what happened or what is even
yeah,
being talked about, but will,
yeah,
jump
they're
on a
getting little,
side or think that
yeah.
it's
No, I agree.
so just purely to put someone's mind at ease, like
Yes,
something like that.
no, I
I
agree
think
with
it's
that.
important to
Yes,
get into some things for
yes,
sure.
yeah. Yes, I know, and I agree with that, and that's why we're going to do those things. We will deal with things that are applicable to our community, and
Hmm.
the particularly the food and the hospitality side of it. And so we'll do we'll talk about those things. We will eventually, I think, do some kitchen geared things.
I didn't
If
know
I have
that.
my way,
Well,
I'll try to figure out how to
I'm not gonna keep that from you.
work
Yeah, we
that
can do
out.
that. That's
I mean,
great.
I might get in there and fake a little,
You're gonna get in there.
yeah,
Ooh,
Julia Child or
okay.
something,
Okay.
shake a pan over an oven or something. Is that what you do? I don't know.
I've done it before. Yeah.
Most people wouldn't realize that a lot of the recipes I actually come up with,
No. Yeah. Actually,
but
yeah.
the,
It's him
but
most of the time.
the cooking, the practical execution, once again, knowing my strengths and weaknesses,
Right. Let
I,
somebody else
there's no
figure out
way.
how to make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah.
Like on
Actually,
the scale that we need to, and
exactly.
in the time frame that we need it.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, most of the way it
The
tastes is
sauces and those things. I mean, yeah, I generally tweak those, but I'm in by myself with my little. I take off this hat and put on my little mad scientist hat that looks just like this one,
right.
and go to
Maybe some
town in there,
stripes.
and then tweak it, and eventually we come up with something. But so yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about more of our history of what and the things we've learned in the
Mhm.
short amount of time that we've done these things.
Yeah.
We definitely want to talk about in the next week or so the closing of our Winchester Pizza and Barbecue location.
Yeah.
That was such a core part of our life for 3 years.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yep.
Keegan, my other son, and he grew up in there. I mean,
He
his
did.
identity was pretty much, he's freshman in high or eighth grade or whatever. So he was in that kitchen. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, that's a painful one.
It is. Yeah.
We held that on far longer than what was economically wise.
Right.
But I'm not going to say that it was the wrong decision.
No, I
I
don't
have
think it was.
I
I
have a
don't think
hard
it was.
time. I want to learn from mistakes, but that's all you learn from. You don't learn
Mhm.
from success.
Yes.
And so you can't out of one side of your mouth say I would you could say I would do it differently now, knowing now what I
Knowing
know
what
moving
you know.
forward, I would, but I wish that never would have happened. Well,
No,
then
yeah.
you also wish that you were an
Mhm.
infant. You wish you
Yes,
didn't actually learn
exactly.
anything.
Exactly. Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, well, shut that off.
wow, this timer went off here, but
I don't think we need to really stick to the timer that much.
no, I just as a general,
Yeah, a little reminder of how
yeah,
long-winded we are.
yes. And so the good news is somebody can shut this off anytime they want.
Oh, yeah, they can, yeah.
I mean, you just
Yep.
push stop
Just
and
stop it, and then you don't have to listen to us anymore.
no, assuming anybody will ever care to listen to it at all.
Right.
I don't,
Right.
but
Bold assumption. Bold
but
assumption.
it's like you said, it's cathartic, it's
It's
lethargic,
it's lethargic.
it's
Yeah. What did I say? There was a
It's
meme I saw that said,
leprosy.
men. Oh God. Said, men don't go to therapy. Men start podcasts.
There you go. This is our therapy session right here. Yes,
Yep.
we are. Yes, drowning our sorrows in good bourbon, not cheap bourbon. Good bourbon, and talking about life and existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, life and existence. And it's things that are important, but it's things that honestly I distract myself with thinking about this kind of stuff from things that actually stress me out.
Yeah.
Like this is stressful. The closing of the Winchester location was stressful, but really it puts you in a headspace that seems productive, and that right away is
Yeah.
feels good.
Yes.
It feels
Yeah.
good to start thinking ahead, like, okay, next chapter, what do we do?
Yeah, because I mean that was such a big part of it. It just demanded so much of all of us that
Yeah.
we the the benefit was really cool when it comes to building the awareness of who we are and what we're
Hmm.
about, and nothing would have caused us to gain the realm of knowledge that we have
Yeah.
both in the community and inside our own heads, of how to operate and execute at such a high level. Um, but nothing would have grown our brand, for lack of a better way of saying it,
No, I think that's the
like
perfect
that
way to
did.
say
I
it. Yeah,
mean,
that's
it,
the real way to say it.
it,
That's what it is.
it grew the Tree Hill Farms, the Roots brand, the Livingston name more regionally to where the goals that we had all along are furthered now
Yeah,
because of that.
finally it opened a lot of doors, a lot
Exactly.
of opportunities.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like perfect timing, because now that those doors are open, we need time to go through them. And we definitely
Yes,
didn't
exactly.
have it before. We
No,
didn't even have
no, and
time
that's
to
the thing.
explore the things that we because the restaurant was great, but that was never really.
Exclusively our goal.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
No, from the
yeah,
beginning, from the conception of Tree Hill Farms and even Roots, that was not.
yeah, yes,
That
yeah.
was
It's
the
part of it,
yeah.
and a necessary outcome probably,
Hmm.
but not no that not in that specific context and environment. In other words, our vision did not
Right.
demand that location to achieve
No,
the
it
goals.
didn't.
In fact, there are ways that it achieved it, and there are ways that we sacrificed a lot
Yes.
to to keep it moving that way.
Right.
And so, I mentioned this to one of our, one of the people that I respect. I said I appreciate, they challenged us on it and on still being there, and I said, I appreciate that you backed me into a decision that I have not had the courage to make. That
Mhm.
you know should you keep doing this,
Yeah.
and as painful as it was to admit that, because and a lot of times because it's painful to admit that you made a mistake.
Yeah, it's
That
pride. I
it's
mean, it
pride. It's all it
is.
was. At the end of the day, no, it wasn't all it was. There was, because anytime we considered not operating it, anytime we considered closing it, the first thing that always came to our mind is our staff.
Yeah,
The second thing that always came
absolutely.
to mind was the customers aren't going to be able to have
That
this
was a
environment.
tough one for
And
me.
yeah, and so it wasn't just pride. There was love for neighbor in there as well, but that's the problem, right? Because that's what happens. There
Mhm.
is no pure virtue or pure vice.
No, there
Generally,
isn't.
it's a
No.
mixture now. So now you're throwing pride and love of neighbor, which are
Yeah.
the polar opposites,
Polar
the
opposites. Yes.
God and the devil thrown into a stew.
Mhm.
And we as the people are like the old cartoons with the one on each shoulder, the
Yeah.
angel and the devil on the shoulder, and you're trying to figure out what am I supposed to do, and you're trying to judge your own motives while you're doing it, and you're trying to finance the whole thing
Yes.
while you're doing it. So,
Yes.
and the whole time that's happening, you've got other life that's taking place,
Oh, yeah.
and people are constantly questioning your motives and your wisdom and all of those things. And so, yeah, it's just not fun.
No, there was a lot of it that was not fun.
It was fun to see the smile on people's faces at,
Absolutely.
brisket mac,
Yep.
but
Yep.
that's about it. Everything else was a tremendous burden. Um, and one of the best nights of sleep I ever had was the night that we decided to,
Yeah.
okay, this was this is a long time coming, and we need to just make this decision. And
Right.
and then after you make it, so many people are coming up to you and saying, man, I don't know how you did it that long, man. We were just waiting. We figured it wasn't going to last forever. And I'm just
Oh,
just like,
well, I never had anybody tell me
You
that.
know?
I'm happy that you got all that because
yeah,
I
and I'm still
haven't.
getting it. I got it today.
I'm sure you
Got
did.
it today down in Richmond. Somebody had said that to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we will get more into though the whole Winchester experience, the good and the bad, and not the ugly, because there really wasn't any, but the good
There
and the
wasn't
bad.
really ugly, no.
And then, but also we want to talk about some of the things that are taking place here in the future, things that we're doing, this deli, and we have a brewery that we've planned that's been in the works
Yep.
for years and years and years. That
Again, the adult beverage thing.
it's been here forever. I mean, we were looking at properties, and I've been talking to brewmasters since 2018, 2019. I have text
That was
messages
one
with
of
brewmasters.
the first.
Yeah.
Other than just food, like
Yeah.
growing produce, that was one of the first things. That
Sure.
was, like,
So
on
the
the
idea
brain.
that we wanted to provide a hospitality place and drinks as well as food, I mean, that's been with us for
Right.
almost foundational time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so that's not a response to anything else that's taking place or anything. Our goal in life is to just provide value, create value for our neighbors. That's
Essentially, yeah, that's
what
it.
we're trying to do. And
That's it. Yeah.
whether that be food or drink or a place for your kids to get their first job,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yes.
a place for a housewife or something, a semi-retired person to get a few hours a weekend or something like that.
Yep.
That's our goal. I mean, all along that's been our goal.
Yes,
And so
I agree.
I
I agree with that.
I look forward to being able to explore that and express that more. And the little property on the corner of Hickory and Oak,
Mhm.
the old playground. I mean, I've heard people have asked me what's the deal with that? What are you going to do with it?
There's a lot of questions about that, which is
There
fair.
is. It's
Which
fair.
is fair.
It's fair, but also, just eventually we will do something
Yeah,
with it.
we'll do something with it. Yeah.
We have an idea for it. And I look forward to having some of the energy now, and hopefully
Yep.
some of the resources to put into it, because here's the thing: we're just a small family. We're one small family in a
Yep.
small town in a small impoverished county.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
People act like that you're supposed to just be able to do these things, and that, I mean, well, we do as much as we can.
I agree. Yeah, we
I
do.
mean,
We do. Yeah.
It's we're still driving our 2011 Honda Accord.
Yeah, you
that
guys
I've
are.
put that I dropped a rebuilt engine into because I didn't want to buy a new car.
Yeah. That
Like,
thing runs like a champ, though.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we built our house in 2008 with, with our own, just within our family and our friends, that we built it ourselves so we could live cheap. I mean,
Yep.
we're not out trying to be extravagant people. We are literally trying to love our neighbors and improve our town.
Right. Yeah.
We could do this anywhere else.
Yeah, I know. That's
what's always funny, isn't it? People come and say,
yeah, like what? Yeah, the idea that we or anyone else, any other business owner who's doing things in town want to suck the wealth out of an area. It's just it's ludicrous. Yeah, we could be somewhere else if we were trying to do that.
Yeah,
we're here because we love it here.
Yes, absolutely, we love it here, and we've invested here.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
And people wonder, where you because we have taken 3 generations of wealth and reinvested it here in other ventures.
And that is a thing that
it's really nobody's business.
It's not anyone's business, but that's
yeah,
what this
here
is
we
for,
are.
I think. Like, yeah, no one knows that, obviously. That generations of something that was there, and then now it's not.
Yes.
For this.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and so I want to get into that over time. Probably not tonight, but probably the next time.
We're getting long.
The next time we get together, I would like to discuss things like the buildings, our arrangements with the city, what we've done to invest in the area. And we don't. I'm not going to bring, you know, what's the word? Glory upon ourselves. That's not the
Oh,
goal at
right.
all.
No, no.
However, I just want to set the record somewhat straight for the people that you
Yes.
said that are on the sidelines.
They genuinely
There's
don't
people that are
know.
never going to be our customers. They just, for whatever reason, have prejudged us and they don't like it.
Yeah.
And that's that. I
And
don't
that's
care. I'm not
okay.
trying to change their mind.
That's okay. Yeah.
And the people that are our customers are incredibly loyal. They know that
Mhm.
what we're trying to do. It's like I always tell our staff, that you have to serve our customers, not the
Yes.
people that aren't our customers.
Right.
And they always say, well, how do you know? And how do you know who they are? And I say, our customers love us because they know that we love them. And
Yeah.
so if that's what you're experiencing, then yes, you need to double down on your love for them, because
Right.
that will be rewarded over time.
Mhm.
So we know that the people that are on our side, or that are doing business with us, that they're probably going to continue doing that. And they
Yes.
have their personal reasons for why they do.
Mhm.
I hope it's just because we provide that dang good of an experience.
Yeah,
Um,
that yes, I
you know,
agree. Yeah, that's
but
what we're looking to
then
do.
there's people in the middle that really don't know who we are or anything, and all they see is a couple posts on social media or some snarky comments
Yeah.
that are taken out of context or are not given the full story, those kind of things. And
Which, yeah, for those people, that's commonplace on the internet. That's all the internet is. I mean, really, social media is a bunch of information that isn't full, so you're gonna form your opinion on it anyway.
true.
So like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like we're being I don't feel like we're being targeted or alienated compared
no.
to anything else or anyone else. It's pretty normal stuff.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree. Yes. And so my goal would be, though, for those people that are just on the edge and saying, well, what is the case with this? What is the story? Because there is truth in almost everything,
Mhm.
right? Even
Yeah.
the snarky comments,
Yeah,
they came
there's
from somewhere.
yeah, they had to have come from somewhere.
And
Yeah.
so I would like to, we want to address those, so that just so that people understand where we are coming from and what we're trying to accomplish here. And
Right.
for no greater reason, not to defend ourselves, for no greater reason than to educate and entertain.
Pretty
So
much.
probably
Yeah,
you'll
pretty
find a pretty
much.
self-deprecating explanation, if I had to guess.
At some point, yeah, that'll be in there.
But we want to do that. And anything else that you can think of that?
No, I just want this to be fun.
Yes,
I
I
want
do
this to be
too.
fun to do for us, because I mean, we have fun doing what we do on a day-to-day basis, but really we like talking a lot.
We do. Yeah.
So this is fun. I hope that it's fun at some point for
Hope it's
people to listen to
yes.
and watch. I mean,
If it's not, then it's not worth doing.
yeah, exactly. So we
Yeah.
want to really try to do a good job with this. Priority number one, now that I'm looking at that, is I need to get those lights fixed. Get softer lights.
Need some softer lights in here. I don't know
the
bum that went to Didier's and got these bright lights. I mean, all I did was read, podcast 101 for dummies, and they said that you need good light. So I thought I got good light, and now all I realize is that we all look like Casper the Friendly
I know.
Ghost
Look
up
at
in
my
here.
hair. It's
Like-
looked like this the whole time. It's fine.
Well,
It's fine.
Let's talk about your hair. No.
This is so yeah, this is the kind of stuff. I actually want to do this well and make it fun to watch and listen to. And over time, I
Get
feel
some
like
sponsors. Cha-ching.
we'll get Mr. Coppers and Mr. Kings.
Where are you at?
But yeah, it'll get better hopefully. And
As we get better,
yeah.
it'll get better.
Yeah.
Like our candy apple mild sauce.
Yep. Hopefully, like everything we do, yeah. As we just keep putting time into it and thought, hopefully it just keeps getting better. But we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be fun along the way.
Yes. Yeah. My suspicion is it will turn out like Castaway. Tom Hanks will be talking to his volleyball friend and stuff, and like you will see the degradation of man as we just week after week just plummet into the depths of darkness.
We're recording today, and
Yeah.
I don't show up, so he's just got
Yes. Here I am drinking alone.
Hopefully that never happens.
We will see you in a week.
Yes, in a week. Thank you, guys.